So, yeah, I haven't really been hiding the fact that I haven't loved Go Rush thus far. I feel like the writing has been a big step down from Sevens, and a lot of the interesting ideas it's been setting up haven't really been executed or presented to us right in their initial stages. And you know what? While I still stand 100% by that opinion, they really turned it around this week. Like, there was a lot of good shit in this. And I'm hoping it will be our step in the right direction and getting us back on track with Yu-Gi-Oh's quality. And granted, Yu-Gi-Oh! And quality sometimes sounds like a crazy mess, but let's hope for the best. So yeah, this episode actually opens up on what is a pretty strong note. Just seeing Udius sitting there, just like trembling in uncertainty, maybe a little fear, not knowing. I think that's actually a really powerful image, and I think it kind of takes advantage of the fact that Udius isn't like normal people or normal Yu Gi Oh characters. He's an alien, but also it's different with him because he's someone who's trained, someone who's disciplined. He doesn't come off as the type of person who's going to have a big over the top freak out, and knowing what we know about his backstory as a soldier, yeah, you wouldn't expect that from him. You wouldn't expect him to scream or throw something or throw a fit. You would expect it to be much more like this, just like trying to hold that anger and confusion back. And I think it is just a really powerful image. Naturally, it then gets turned into a joke, which, yeah, I actually thought that was fun with Yuhi. That was kind of neat. I don't really know what to think of the idea that the Earth Dammer was inside of him. Also, I think I wasn't really paying attention to when we learned that. But I think the joke that it's really grossing him out is a lot better than normal. I feel like so often than not, when they do weird shit like that in these kinds of shows, there's not a lot of acknowledgement. Everyone just weirdly goes along with something they probably shouldn't. Or there's like 1 second of saying it's weird and it gets written off. I like the fact it genuinely bugs him that that was inside him. I don't know, it just entertained me. But yeah, no, so then, yeah, it kind of just keeps staying good. I really have no other real way to segue into this. I like that again, like you just see the way he's acting, and I like that Uamu, being the smart one, kind of knows how to deal with it, at least a little bit more than Yuki does. I like when he then gets up to go look on his own for him, the way she kind of says, like, well, you don't really know the lay of the land, so we'll help you out. That so easily could come off as her being like a little obnoxious or like saying it in like a stuck up sort of way, and then doing the classic she smirks and shows I'm actually here to help. No, her tone is very kind of like helpful and nice the whole time. I think it really does a good job. And you see the reaction in real time on Udius's face as he's kind of like, no, my friends are standing by me and they're going to help me. And that's a really nice little scene. So then the idea is a week goes by. I also like the idea that they don't immediately figure out where this guy's, what's his name, Ziel or Zweil or something. Something German sounding. That sounds a little worrisome considering what the plot of this show is. But anyways, so yeah, about a week goes by, and I kind of like the idea that they don't immediately find the guy. Like, he's obviously got his own plan and doing his own nefarious things, so therefore he probably wouldn't want to be located super quickly. So I think it's kind of like a bit more realistic that it takes them a hot minute to figure out what's going on. But then another returning character, the dude from Roa's band, is all like, all right, our company needs some income. I'm still not crazy about the idea that these kids are running a fucking company, but I'd rather they try and integrate it into the story than just leave it sitting there till they eventually feel like addressing what's actually going on here. But yeah, no, so the idea is they've got to figure out 3 urban myths that have been going on recently, and as they go Scooby-Doo this shit, you find out that 2 of them are not really anything going on, just kind of these goofy things, and yeah, even though I felt like this was mostly just to waste time, they were funny enough. Especially the statue thing, because that's actually one you could sort of see really happening. And the opposite made the other one funny. Just the idea of this group of this trio of like Chad grannies who are just like ultimate X game girls. That was funny. But then, of course, naturally, Udius finds the real thing where they are going after the iconic Flatwoods monster. For those of you who don't know, the Flatwood monster is kind of a dumb cryptid from the 50s that if you look into it for more than 5 minutes makes no fucking sense. But anyways, that's most cryptids in general. But anywho, so yeah, the Flatwoods monster takes the form of a chair that Yugioh sits in. Kind of a weird joke, especially considering what they did with chairs in the last Yu-Gi-Oh! But yeah, no, so Yugioh just kind of hangs out there. Then the other two show up. They're all like, that's not a chair, that's the Flatwoods monster. There's something surreally funny about how just plainly they're saying Flatwoods monster. Like, you'd think this would require more explanation than the Chupacabra. But no, they actually put the Chupacabra's lore more into it. Here they just said the Flatwoods monster, which might annoy some people, but there is something just weirdly funny about it. But yeah, no, so then naturally, he is like, haha, I'm here, and sees that Udius has a deck, and like, it's time to duel, because that's the plot of the show. And the duel is pretty good. Like, actually, like, they've improved from what we were getting. The big thing that really, like, it's very basic, like, traps get activated, a bullshit spell saves the day, blah, 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 that typical thing. Something I noticed, though, is we've been getting a lot over the years CGI monsters. It's kind of inconsistent who's CGI and for what scenes. Here it looks like Udius's main two monsters are all CG and everything else is hand-drawn, which is very interesting and makes me think that's actually an intentional stylistic choice. I don't know if I like it just yet, but we'll see where it goes. But yeah, no, so they're dueling, and while the duel is more entertaining, the show is stolen just by Udius. I really liked what they did here. First up, his body language the whole time. He is tense. He doesn't really know what to do. He can't focus. He's too busy just thinking about everything else. And it shows on his face, and it shows in his movements, and it shows in the actor's performance. Udius's actor hard carried this. He did a real good job. But yeah, no, so the duel is going on, and like you just see it in the way Udius acts, and most importantly in the plays he makes. I like he made an actual misplay and a mistake, and Yuamu called him out on it. Because again, he doesn't really know a lot of the game, and he's just not thinking straight. It's actually a pretty nice thing that I wish Yu-Gi-Oh's would implement into the plot of the episodes just more. And the other thing that's really neat is they're actually taking advantage of Udius's past relationship with, well, his father figure. I didn't think they did a good job with it that much in episode 2 or last week, the way everything was handled, because it was just kind of jumbled in a blender. But no, having these scenes, especially stuff we've already seen before, and now with the recontextualization of how Udius has to now think of the guy, it's actually really interesting. There's something very fascinating about just watching how Udius, when he is unsure, flashes back to just the foundation of how he became who he is and how this guy is intrinsically linked to it. That's a very clever and creative way of getting us an idea of what's going on in Udius's head and relating to him as he deals with that thing. I assume you're not an extraterrestrial alien if you're watching this, but you can probably relate to the idea of having to come to terms with a darker side of someone you looked up to. And I think that really ultimately works in the episode's favor. So yeah, then the duel goes pretty much just how you expect. Udius naturally ultimately wins by bringing out his big monster. Like I said, just kind of a normal spell play. But then, oh my god, the last couple minutes of this. Oh, it's good. I have no way to say it. So naturally, Udius beats the Flatwoods monster. The father figure, I'll get his name eventually, shows up. And holy shit, I liked what happened next. I liked how just like, he wasn't just like, I'm a bad guy now. Like the way he approaches Udius, the way he talks to him, still with just kind of like that paternal sounding like aspect to the way he talks and the way he acts towards him. He's like, we can use rush duels to hurt people. And Udius is like, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm here to end the conflict. I'm here for peace and so we can rebuild, not destroy. And if they're really going to try and implement that angle into Yu-Gi-Oh!, I think this could be really fucking interesting. We saw some interesting uses of what the concept of what dueling means to people in the last one at various points throughout the franchise, but if they can really consistently use the dueling as a metaphor for violence or wanting change or anything like that, I think we could get some really interesting, juicy content here. And I am back to being excited for what happens next. Also, the last bit I think is sort of a neat idea too, how he just like blows up a fucking wall and just escapes from like 50 dudes. I also really like Yui's like face when he escapes. That's pretty funny. But yeah, and then he just kind of goes off and you're just left on this note of, what do we do? Like, you're gonna meet him again. And the way he turned on Udius when Udius said he wasn't involved, like, that's good. There's a lot of good shit here. And it's got me excited for where we go from here. Again, the way next episode sounds, it might just be a dumb comic relief episode. I'm hoping it's a little bit more, but we will get there when we get there. Speaking of things that will get there when we get there, this week's TCG question of the week. So, it leaked a day or two ago that OTS stores are going to be receiving a banner talking about registering for this year's Nationals, which I never talked about this at the time because it was kind of busy, but this year's Nats sort of isn't normal Nats. If I'm correct, anyone can enter. Well, this is how the South American one is being ran, and if you got your invite in the 2019-2020 season, I don't think it goes to this because in the blog post they say how next year's regular Nats will have like a twice as big a top cut. I think don't quote me on any of this. Look into this yourselves, people. But yeah. Oh, but the big thing here is that Masterpiece, the true Draco Slaying King, is on this banner, and people are freaking the fuck out that Masterpiece is coming back. My question to you, do you think he's coming back? Do you want him back? Do you not want him back? Do you not think he's coming back? I don't think he's a good idea to bring him back while skill drain is at 3, but I have come a long way around on this deck, and I'm kind of like, yeah, bring it back, who cares? But yeah, we will see about that as time comes. And so anyways, what did you think of this episode? What do you think of that question? And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next week because we pray to God it's not going to be a dumb comic relief episode.